Today's video, we're going to talk about the best bidding strategy for Google Ads, depending on what niche you're in, that is. So I'm going to go through each category of type of business here on this video. Local services, national services, local product businesses, national product businesses where you're selling over the internet. Which bidding strategy you want to go with? And the answer, as you're going to about ready to find out, is not one bidding strategy that you use all the time. It's you start with one strategy, mainly manual, and then you switch over to smart bidding, but in a very particular way that works for your business type the best. I will go through in detail what it is that you're going to exactly do to maximize your profit out of Google Ads, depending on what business type you have. And I'll give you actual examples of different companies we've worked with that made millions of dollars doing this exact thing and peaked their profitability using this system, so you can see how well it'll work for yourself. So stay to the end of the video for some case study and information thereof. Before I get into the content though, if you do not know who I am Corey Zyman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in their profitability, basically in excess of the management fees that we charge. We are the only agency out there offering any kind of similar guarantee, which should tell you something about the quality of the information on this video. With that said, getting into the content. So, as I mentioned at the start of this video, we're going to cover the four main categories of businesses: national services, local products, like a brick and mortar product selling medical supplies or whatever, or national, or elderly care supplies, furniture stores and the like, and national products where you got an e-commerce business essentially going. And I realize a lot of businesses, there's a combination thereof where local product sellers are also selling through the internet, and I'll address that on this video. But for the most part, I had to come up with a system that anybody could follow to decide which bidding strategy to use. And this is the most standardized way I could put it, given that there is no one size fits all. Okay? So starting with the top here, local services, I will go through what I use. Clearly, as I mentioned before, we are an agency that guarantees results for our clients, or at least we don't get paid if we cannot get the results of the client we say that we could get for the client. So when we agree to take a client on guarantee, we're not messing around. We're not here to work for our help and not make any money. And granted, we also don't want to ruin our reputation. So we're not going to guarantee anything we can't do. If I'm going to guarantee results for clients, this is the strategy I'm going to use every time for a local service. And that is, we're going to start out with, and you should start out with, manual bidding. Why manual bidding versus maximize conversions, target impression share bidding, and the like, is because you have the maximum amount of control with your bidding out the gate. If you use maximize, the main bidding strategy people like is maximize clicks. Maximize clicks is going to do just what the name says. Maximize your clicks. It's just going to maximize your clicks in ways that you don't want to maximize, frankly. You're going to show up for the keywords you want to show up for, but then also other keywords. And if you're talking about display campaigns, showing up places where you shouldn't want to show up that are profitable. Manual bidding, you show up in the places you would want to show up. It's not as effective by itself to get you shown quickly in the search results if you use it, unless you know what I know and what we've known for years to get ads going quickly. And that is, you do the doubling bidding strategy, as I call it. So you start out all your keywords and you bid high enough to show so that the keyword doesn't say bid too low, can't show up on the first page under the status. Once you do that, you come back 3 days later, you see if you're getting enough impressions to spend your starting budget, whatever it is. Usually we start out with 100 a day, regardless if it's a big company, small company. If we're not getting enough impressions, we'll double the bids. We'll wait a week. If we're still not spending our budget, we'll double the bids again. Come back in another week. If we're still not getting the clicks we want, we'll double our bids again. And just keep doing this until we're spending our budget. Once we're spending our budget, we can then reverse that and walk the bids back down. Cut it in half. And the reason why you got to do this is because everything that Google has is run off an algorithm. Google has the ad rank system where they score you as an advertiser and your campaigns and ads individually to determine if your ad should show up for a keyword or on a certain website or not, based upon what they think you're going to do as an advertiser and what you have done in the past. Because they want their users to get the best experience possible, so they want to click on ads on the future on Google and use Google in the future. Or, click on banner ads in the future if you're doing that. So they're constantly benchmarking you against the competition. Well, the problem is, even if you have the best ads and best website / landing page in the world to really impress them, they don't know it in the beginning, and they assume any new advertiser is going to be terrible, because most new advertisers are. 90% of people who run Google ads don't ever make it work. They try it for a little bit and they don't make it work because they don't have the skill or didn't put the work in to actually come to the table with something more. It's not a yellow page listing where we got listed. Okay, we're done. No, that's not at all how it works anymore. You either be the best or you don't make any money. Cream rises to the top, baby. Okay? You need to, and if you don't have the skill, you got to hire somebody who does, or you just don't waste your time with it. Don't waste your money. So with that said, you need data to prove to Google you are good and that you should be shown not only a lot, but shown to the people who matter, the people who convert, who Google knows is a likely person to turn into a sale. And they kind of pretty much know with their AI based upon everything that person's done in the past, who they are, what they are. So you need to get clicks just to get in good graces with them. And if you have a low ad rank, they're not going to show you very much. They're going to show you in a competitive market, especially where there's 10 to 20 people cycling in and out of those top 4 ad spots or heavily wanting on a certain website, they're going to show you like 1% of the freaking time at the beginning. So it's hard to get your ads going because they're very risk averse in testing out new guys. Okay, so when you're using manual bidding, given that Google's system is still predicated at least a third or so on a bidding system, he who bids the most per click gets the most, even though it's only like a third of the equation now. And your job as an advertiser in terms of your click-through rates, conversion rates is the rest of the 2/3. And your past history, what's worked for you, what's not, and so forth. You can spend more per click to force your way to the top. And there's no better way to do that than with manual bidding and jacking up your bids again and again until you get shown enough. Because if you bid high enough, you bid $5,000 per click, trust me, you will get shown at the beginning at least, so that Google gives you some clicks. Now, if you do a shitty job as an advertiser, it doesn't mean they won't stop showing you later, but initially, it's great at getting you shown. So we start out with manual bidding, not maximize clicks, not target impression share bidding, because even with that, it's hard to get shown at the beginning. And we use that until we've racked up a certain minimum amount of conversion data to where we can switch over to either maximize conversion value bidding strategy or maximize conversions, which in this particular case, we're going to start out with maximize conversions. Why? We're going to track form fills and phone calls itself as conversions. And we're going to be on maximize conversions bidding strategy for a while until we get enough sales data into the account using offline conversion tracking to use maximize conversion value as the final destination bidding strategy for our account. Why we do that and waste our time doing that? Because you'll make at least 3 times as much money optimizing for revenue and profit than you will optimizing for leads, given the cheapest leads are never, ever, ever going to be the best quality, most profitable leads. And that's just how it is. So if you want to settle for a teeny bit of money because you're lazy, be my guest. And it makes me happy because if I'm in a market that you're in, I'll make most of the money, that's it. If you want to make the real money though, people that are in the know, you got to track sales from your leads. You got to import that back into your ad account using the offline conversion tracking process that Google has. They allow you as an advertiser for free to use, and use the profit to steer your ads, not just lead level data itself as to whether a lead came in or not. Okay. Ultimately, for local services, you're typically going to have the sale within 90 days. And as long as you do it, then you can import the sales revenue in there and you have it. Which, by the way, in certain businesses like plumbing services, where the real money is in not just the initial job, but the subsequent like sewer line repair, that's $20,000, which all the plumbers are going for. You're going to not only going to want to import the sales revenue on the first purchase, but the second, and the second normally comes within 90 days. And if it does, you're going to import that too. And then you're going to then ultimately optimize for the big upsell that you ultimately want from your ads, and then you really start making money. But that is bid strategy wise what I'm going to do for a local service. I'm going to start with manual, then go to maximize conversions. Once I have at least 10 to 30 conversions, I'm going to switch to this versus manual. And then once I have 30 to 100 sales import it. I'm going to switch to maximize conversion value bidding strategy. Got it? So that's local services. Now, moving forward on national services now, okay, we are going to start with manual bidding again. And with that, we're going to also switch to maximize conversions when we have 10 to 30 form fills / phone calls that we're tracking, which just as a small side here, if the biggest mistake I see people make when they start advertising is they don't even track the result. You're throwing away literally half or more of your ad budget that you're spending if you don't track any of your conversions like you're supposed to, because the conversions is where the results are. We've had accounts where we ran them for 10 years, took the exact same ads, landing pages, everything, switched them into an account that had no history, and we're getting 5% of the results that the 10-year account had, strictly because the conversion data that we had built up in that account and the history, and mainly the conversion data that tells us exactly who's a customer, who's not. And not just doing it on a keyword level, but on an individual user demographic level, trait level, what websites they visited, what they say while having a Google app installed on their phone, near their phone, and on and on and on. The wealth of your business is an ad account with lots and lots of conversion data built in it, because you have a machine that will churn out profit day in and day out repeatedly and millions upon millions a year once you've racked up a certain minimum amount of data in your account. So start building it up front now before you start advertising, or at least if you are advertising now, get it done. Because once you do, the bidding strategies just do what it's supposed to do. It gets you more and more and more and more profit without having to do anything other than making sure the data is flowing in right. So anyway, with the national services, like if you're, and this again, it'd be like product design companies, animation companies that you would hire a specialist service that's not local, that kind of thing. Once you get 10 to 30 form fills or phone calls, you switch to maximize conversion bidding strategy to optimize for form fills and phone calls. Then once you get at least 30 to 100 sales uploaded, and therefore the revenue tied to those sales uploaded to the ad platform, you switch to maximize conversion value bidding strategy as your final destination, if you will. And for that matter, though, it's a little bit different and for national services, because they're usually bigger contract sizes, and the sales cycle window time, which is that is the time it takes for the average person to turn into a lead, if you will, a client, if you will, is often longer than 90 days. So in that case, you have to optimize for something else besides revenue. And that could be predicted contract value. So you're at least optimizing for people that look like they're better leads, or you could do lead scoring the lead between 1 and 10, and then using that as your conversion value that you're uploading. So when you use maximize conversion value bidding strategy, it's going to optimize for leads that have a 10 score versus a 1 score, if you will. As a small side to this, I've oversimplified this a bit. If you wanted to get even quicker results with your ads, what you want to do is, instead of just tracking leads, track FAQ button clicks, partial form fills, if you have a form that you need them to fill out that's more than like 3 fields, or a multi-step form. Why? Because you'll get more results. You could switch to having the maximize conversion value bidding strategy, but using those what we call micro conversions as the thing it's optimizing first for, because it'll get 10 to 30 micro conversions first before you'll get 10 to 30 form fills / phone calls, and you'll be able to scale that campaign up quicker because it has data to utilize to optimize for sooner in the process, and because the algorithm needs so much data to use to be able to actually do the steering of your ads using the smart bidding, using the maximize conversion value bidding strategy. So that's another little small tip. It's not a big factor, but if you literally had, let's say I had $1,000 and I had to get this 1,000 working, or someone is going to come blow my head off, I'm going to run out of money, I can't advertise another day, and I'll never get $1,000 to advertise ever again. I'm going to track micro conversions. I'm going to optimize for micro conversions first, and then I'm going to optimize for actual conversions, form fills, phone calls. Then I'm going to eventually optimize for sales, because that'll get me the most results the soonest in the process. You may just skip that step though, because you don't really care that much about getting every last drop of performance out of your ad spend, and get a higher ROI from your ad spend sooner in the process, okay? Now, from there, you have local product companies, okay? So if you're a local furniture seller doing, selling products to old people like lift chairs and motorized scooters and stuff like that, businesses that were selling products locally, not through the internet, even though some of these businesses sell online as well, and could sell to people that are not local. In this particular instance, you're also going to start out with manual bidding. And then with that, if you are selling something that's expensive, we're talking more than $100 roughly. At that point in time, I'm going to switch from manual to maximize conversion value bidding strategy once I have at least 10 to 30 conversions. When I say 10 to 30, 30 is more ideal. 10, if it takes you forever to get to 30 conversions, I will compromise and just do 10 in a lot of cases. But with that said, you're going to optimize for conversion value, and the way that you're going to do this, given it's a local business, is you're going to if you have an online shopping cart so people can order through the website as well, you track the cart purchases. But in addition to that, you track form fills and phone calls. And when somebody buys in your store itself, you're going to try to record their name, and you're going to get their name hopefully by telling them that there's a raffle, or there's a warranty, or there's you'll get 10% off your order or something, that they have to fill out a card. And then you take that card, use the name on the card, compare it to the form fill or phone call that came in where they initially asked questions before coming in the store. So you can get the Google Click ID to upload that Click ID to Google, so you can upload your sales revenue through this process, which is the basis of what offline conversion tracking is. And then you can track revenue that came in through your store as a result of the ads. But, of course, you have to have them fill out the form or call first before they come in to track that. If you don't typically get them to call or fill out the form before coming in, then what you do there instead is when they come into the store, you ask them, or should I say tell them, hey, we'll give you 10% off your order if you go to XYZ URL on our website and fill out a small form. And then once you do that, you'll get 10% off your order that you're checking out today, whether it be a mattress that they're buying or what have you. And what that does is it allows you to complete the conversion loop on your campaign. They saw you on their phone. They came into the store to look at the mattresses you sell. They went to buy a mattress. You told them to go to a certain form to get the 10% discount on their order today, that mattress that they were looking to buy. That form asks them what they're buying and how much it was, and what their name is, which the name is irrelevant. You're just doing that as like a dummy thing to make it seem you're getting the information for something else besides tracking purposes. And then once they submit the form, that revenue passes back to your ad account again, and it has the revenue from that purchase. So Google can see the person that originated on Google, where they came from, who they are, and so forth, and how much they spent ultimately. And that completes the conversion loop. So you can track in-store purchases in your Google Ads account. All right. Now, obviously, if you sold soda and candy and shit like that, you can't ask people to go to a website and fill out a form to get a 10% discount. It ain't going to work. Nope. People are going to tell you to go F yourself. In that case, if you don't sell something for very much, which local product sellers that are going to run Google Ads typically are. I mean, technically, we've had ice cream shops we've ran ads for itself and stuff like that. But in that occasion, instead of optimizing for sales, we'll just optimize for store visits by itself. Even though it would be better to get the revenue data, it's too tough to do it. So you're going to start out with manual bidding in that case. Then you're going to switch over to maximize conversions bidding strategy itself, not maximize conversion value bidding strategy. And you're going to optimize for store visits, which you can easily do by linking your Google business profile to your Google Ads account. When you do that and you have enough people visiting your store to qualify, which it doesn't have to be that much, and there's not a specific number. I would say if you want to estimate it, at least 100 visits to your store a month. Automatically, this is not something you create yourself, but there'll be a goal automatically that shows up in your conversion menu that says store visits, which Google can tell this by, of course, if you have a Google account and you're signed in on your phone, you go into the store, they can see you went into that store, and so with this, they can track how many store visits ultimately you got from your ads. And so you would set up the campaign to optimize for store visits. The cheaper the cost per store visit in terms of ad spend that you have, the more ROI you're going to make. And that's typically going to be your best bet, whether it's an ice cream shop, convenience store, pizza shop, whatever you're doing. And then, for a pizza shop, you're just going to target people within a 3-mile radius of your pizza shop where people are typing in pizza shop, pizza, anything like that. And then you just let the conversion data, that is the store visit data, ultimately power your ad campaign. With the smart bidding, If they were, for a pizza shop, if they're going to call in an order typically, then of course you could do call tracking and then ultimately take their name down. And through having their name itself, you could use your call tracking program like CallRail. We use CallRail. Grab the Google Click ID, import it into your ad account, and then you would have the revenue inside your ad account itself. So you could use maximize conversion value bidding strategy, and that would get you the most results. Versus using store visits as your way to guide your smart bidding, you would use the revenue. So technically there are some stuff where you sell something for less than $100 where you'd still use maximize conversion and value bidding strategy, but it would be in cases like with a pizza shop where somebody typically calls to order and it's delivery, so to say. Got it? Now, the final thing here I'm going to talk about is national products, or if you're an e-commerce company. Before I get into the details on this though, to take a small side here I wanted to say that if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet and you're serious about making money, you want to be subscribed to this channel because I'm giving you all the stuff that it takes to make tons of money with ads, given all I do at our agency all day long, 40 hours a week, is just figure out ad strategies that work. And we have to guarantee results for our clients. And what I find that works and doesn't work, I give to you for free on this channel, which is unique because most of the other yahoos on YouTube, online, talking about ads, don't really run any ads themselves. They're trying to make money off of books, advertising, Google AdSense, they're not in the weeds doing the work. Or they run an agency, they don't do the work themselves. Therefore, the information is second, third, fourth hand. You're getting it. This is super rare. You're getting it straight from the source here. And I have to literally spend 70, 80 hours a week working to do this because I have to spend my weekends talking about what I do during the week. There is no other channel that I know of where somebody's doing this. So subscribe if you're serious about making money already to prove it to yourself that you want to have and do what it takes. Furthermore, check out my blog on my site while you're at it. You can find my blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog. Blog has step-by-step information on how to actually use the strategies we use at our firm to guarantee results for yourself. And it comes with screenshots, step-by-step instructions. All of it is there. If you like the channel, you're definitely going to like the blog as well. Before I get back into this as well, if you have any questions about anything I'm covering here, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. It can be any marketing related question for all I care. I'm more than happy to help anybody who has a question on this channel because you're helping the channel grow and I like giving back because of that. But going into the national products, or in other words, what people call e-commerce businesses. Now for the ideal bidding strategy to use for that is manual bidding, just like I mentioned with the other business types, starting out with that, and to get the campaign going nice and hard and fast. And then once you've done that and you've gotten a few conversions, switching over to maximize conversion value bidding strategy as quickly as possible. Why maximize conversion value bidding strategy? Well, to me it's obvious. I thought it was obvious to everybody, but I'll state it here again. That is, why optimize for transactions when you can optimize for revenue? Revenue is closer to being tied to profit. A transaction, there's big transactions, there's small transactions. If you want to optimize for big transactions, well then you need to have maximize conversion value bidding strategy versus maximize conversions bidding strategy itself. Okay? With that though, I do want to also say that if you sell something that's not that expensive, like let's say under $100, you just track cart purchases by itself, use it for your maximized conversion value bidding strategy, and you're already good. You're already going to be making decent money. That's already good enough. Now there's other caveats here that you need to know, such as you need a backup goal set up through Google Analytics, import it in your ad account so you can always see if your primary goal is working, because if that primary goal ever breaks, your account's going to go completely haywire and almost after like a day or two of it happening already. More so, the more further down the line you get with your ads and the more data you built up, which the account relies on data to get you the results. And as soon as it sees different data coming in than it's used to, this smart bidding will steer your campaigns completely off into left field because the campaigns will go back into learning mode. So but with that said, if you are selling something more expensive, i.e. over $100 on average per transaction, then in that case, you're going to want to use maximize conversion value bidding strategy still, but you want to track offline purchases as well. There's people, naturally, if you take calls from people that ask questions and then you put the order through a virtual terminal system, like a Stripe account or something like that, process the order over the phone, which you should, by the way, because a lot of people, even if they say, oh yeah, I'll go through the website and I'll order, thank you for your help, half the time they're not going to put their order through because they're going to talk themselves out of it. You want to lock that freaking order down over the phone. even if it means you have to give them a 3% or 5% discount for doing it right then and there to lock it down. Trust me on this. So in that case, you absolutely would want to do what I talked about earlier, that is offline conversion tracking to get the sales revenue that came through the phone back into the ad account so you can add it to the cart sales revenue and you have a complete picture of the total revenue that came from your ads. So the maximized conversion value bidding strategy has the full picture of how many sales you're really getting to steer the ads in the general direction of where they're supposed to go, offline plus online sales. Beyond that though, there's a lot of businesses where, we had a business that sold fasteners, nuts, bolts, stuff like that. So in that case, a lot of the orders were coming through the cart, but a lot of people would basically call, ask a question, right? And then later on, they would put their order through the shopping cart still, but it would be 2 months later, and it would be through another person at the company that was ordering. The gopher that did the research initially and called was a different person that put the order through in the accounts payable department, and therefore the conversion link loop got broken as a result of that. If you set up offline conversion tracking and compare the companies, not the individuals, but the companies that had bought in the last 30 days, and then compared that to your call data that came in your call tracking account, you can upload a sale that occurred as a result of your ads, but wouldn't have been tracked through the normal cart tracking because another person ordered than what initially inquired. And I would recommend that as well, even though they go through the cart to buy, because it can often be somebody else. Or it could be somebody who initially inquired at work and they came home to buy. Or it could be somebody a wife was doing research while the man was at work, but the man normally makes all the purchases with his credit card, and you were able to track that as well. You could compare, all the people who called by last name, and then when a last name comes through, you could check any similar last name people in your call tracking account to see the original call that seeded that eventual purchase. Grab the Google Click ID, import it into your account, and now you have the ads properly tracked. So I would recommend that as well if you are an e-commerce business, to properly track your conversions. And with that said, I've mentioned it a million times, the better your conversion tracking data is, the better your results are going to be, and it makes a huge difference. Even slight differences in your tracking data, an extra 20, 30% can mean you're making twice as much money in the long run, just that one simple little thing. And you want it to be consistent, you want fault-tolerant systems to have your data tracked properly. It's a good idea anymore to use enhanced conversion tracking because it'll track maybe another 5-10% of purchases. Also using server-side tracking, which is complicated to set up, but it's also going to bring you another 5-10% in a lot of markets, in addition to the tracking that you have that's not set up with server-side architecture, if you will. And I'm going to make a video about that in a minute, specifically because it's becoming such a key thing at our agency that's helping us out, helping our clients get so much more results. But with that said, this stuff is complicated to set up in terms of the tracking. I know it. Reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. We'll set it up for you. We'll also give you 20 plus other things you can do to raise your profitability starting right away, and of which we can do for you if you want, and take our payment once it increases your profit a certain minimum amount. So you can do that. Or if we worked in your niche market before, you could take the winning ads, landing pages, campaign template, all of it that work for your niche market. You copy paste that into your ad account yourself, and you get the same results we are in a different city or country or state than you're in, that our client is not in also, and not had to go through the millions of dollars of ad spend that we had to figure out and spend to figure out what works in your market. So we have that as well. Either or you can reach out to me at my site at guaranteedppc.com and we can have a discussion about it. I also been offering coaching and consulting as well, where if you just have a one-off question, want to know if you should be doing something, whether it will work or not, before you go ahead and you waste your time and money on it, or just are stuck where you're at in terms of your revenue and profit, or can't get a campaign profitable enough, and you just want to know how to get unstuck. I'm very, very good at doing this. You can reach out to me at my agency as well at guaranteedppc.com, and I can consult you on that as well. But with all that said, that goes over the bidding strategy I'm going to use at our agency to guarantee our clients results for each business type: local, national services, and then local and national product sellers. If you are also looking for the best results, you don't have time to do stuff yourself, but you don't like working with agencies per se on a monthly retainer basis that most of them use, including us. We also have been investing in companies. We partner with companies like yours and we'll invest our money in your ad spend as well as our time to set up your ads in exchange for a percentage or cut of your future revenue. Where if you're doing $1 million or $2 million a year in sales and we bring you to 10, we want, let's say 4%, 10% of your increase in revenue. We'll do it all. And we'll take all the risk on our end for a cut of your revenue. Why? Because we're so good at what we do. We make even more money partnering with companies like this than we do charging for our monthly services anymore. And we've got several companies we've done this with already, which I can give you personal references for. The owners of these companies will tell you for a fact we've made them millions of dollars doing exactly that with their companies, which most people are going to say, I'm not going to give anybody equity. I built this company. And you could do that, but I'm telling you, the pie is going to become huge. So even though you're getting a smaller piece of your pie overall, it's a huge freaking pie once we're done going to town on your ads. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com. As long as you're not pre-revenue, we can at least entertain potentially investing in you and see if we can do that. With that said, I'm going to wrap it up with that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Remember when I said bidding strategy was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.